you know, it's September 10th, and I know the budgets have already gone to the county, so we're just now as a board looking at the budgets. So it's, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself on this. It's just, I just had that simple question of that 210, where it was and why are we spending $67,000 for architectural services? And I don't know who can tell me the answer. Ian can't tell me the answer.
Well, I would assume it's for the plans for the expansion.
But they're not the architect. J.E. Dunn is.
Well, Portland West is.
No, J.E. Dunn is not the architect.
They're the construction.
They're the construction manager.
Okay, so they are.
They're the ones that are going to
Okay,
build
so
it.
that would be perfect. That's great. I'm glad we had some.
Yeah.
That I did not know.
Portland West is the architect of record on the project.
Okay.
J.E. Dunn is the construction manager that at risk that will be building the village.
Okay, so that's helpful,
Yeah.
having that information. I did not know that. I thought they were equal to a J.E. Dunn type position.
Because I just said that. You asked and I told you Jay Dunn is the construction manager.
I have a quick question. So can we expect to continue to see these architect services all throughout the
Yes.
Just redesign the new.
Yes,
So-
I mean, they'll be
every month
billing
there will
every
be
month, because
an
they do
architect.
on-site visits, they're gonna have
Yeah.
updates to plans.
I understand now. I do.
Thank you
Thank you.
for showing up when you did.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on the expense report?
I do have to ask that question. These bills have already been paid, right? They've already been sent out.
That's correct.
Okay.
Entertain a motion for the approval of the expense report. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
I had a motion by Chorney, a second by, who was it over there? I heard it. Thank you. Commissioner Friedrich. Discussion? We will do a roll call vote for the approval of the expense report.
Friedrich?
Aye.
Dickinson? Aye. Marsh?
Me.
Poe?
Nay.
Ani?
No.
Coons?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Dyer?
Aye. All right. Motion approved. On to the finance report. Profit and loss. Any discussion?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I just want to thank Ian. I asked a lot of questions on the profit loss, and he was quick to get back to me, and I really appreciate that. This is how I like working as we go, where we can get answers to some of our questions just by emailing me. So I want to thank Ian for that.
Is there a motion for approval? Second?
I'll second.
Fair. All right, I'm just 1 second late up there. We have a motion on the table for the approval of the expense report from Ani, a second from Titcomb. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote for the approval of the finance report.
Friedrich?
Aye.
Dickinson? Aye. Marsh?
Aye.
Poe?
Nay.
Ani?
Yes.
Coons?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Dyer?
And motion passes. All right, on to our new business. We had presented at last month's meeting, in our process of reviewing library policy, the lost or damaged materials policy. In our board packet that was emailed out last week, as well as printed in front of you, you have the current policy and the suggested changes. Anything before our discussion starts that you want to bring our attention to, Director Anguiano?
To be sure, so the goal behind some of these suggested changes is one, to clarify this process a little bit, because right now it's a tiny bit convoluted the way it's presented, and two, to reflect a little bit the cost of replacing some of these damaged materials has increased a little bit since we last did this. And so it is keeping in place some of those processing fees and changing the structure of how we might look at altering fines for lost or damaged material.
Is that the name of the policy, is lost or damaged materials?
Yes, that is the name of the policy.
So I'm wondering if that needs to have another word or something in there, so that it's not, because it's patron lost or damaged materials. You know what I'm saying there?
Sure.
Because if you just read it and you're clicking on it, lost or damaged materials, you know, I mean, it's something like that. That's the only thing that I see on here, everything else looks great to me. It's just the title.
That adds the clarity, that's what we're striving for.
Yeah,
A
I just,
lot of
the
this is
clarity of it, that it's not just, you know, a book that got moldy with this issue down here. It's something that a patron lost or damaged.
Do you want to present a way or an edit to the presented policy?
I don't know, patron responsible or lost or damaged materials by patrons.
I have a quick question. Has there ever been any situations where someone has been told that they've lost a material and then it's been found? Like on this policy, there's really nothing that is speaking to, well, I guess, even after the 30 days, like, has there ever been situations where like something like that has happened?
Oh, yes, yes there has.
Okay.
And in those instances, if you've already paid, if you can produce the item, sometimes we'll do a refund. Or since you've already paid for the item, it really depends then on the patron. Sometimes they will find it, you know, oh, it's under the seat. But, you know, usually this process is pretty lengthy. You're typically talking about 3 months all in before things really go to a full-on loss status, and you're getting notices, notifications, and all of that. So, and we do, typically we will renew items for patrons too if they're in conversation with us. We have a lot of time to try to track something down, but it has happened before that someone's found it after they have resolved the lost item. That's usually the two options you're given then.
Do you feel like that should be written somewhere in here? Maybe I'm missing it. It just seems like it's within 30 days, but just as like, if it does turn out, I don't know if that would be something that's part of it, or you feel like it's not necessary, Ian, in your,
You know, like I said, it never hurts to strive for better. So, yeah, if we think that language should be in there, I don't think that's a problem. It does say there, you know, that we will refund payment. So we do have some right there. If you find it within 30 days, and generally speaking, you know, if you came in 31 days after the fact, we more than likely work with you. So, yeah, if we think that needs to be adjusted, we certainly could.
Once again, you have a suggestion of verbiage change, like, to me it makes sense, but I live library world all the time. So,
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, if you say in one vein, it takes like, it's a 3-month process, but then you're putting a 30-day thing on it, like, I just wonder, in
And
your
so-
opinion, if that's like a fair thing.
And during those 3 months, that clock is not ticking, right? This is only after it's gone to launch, so you've exhausted all of your renewals. So you really do have potentially even more time than that, because you don't get your first.
I'm not even sure like how often things are lost,
That's
right,
what I
or
was gonna say,
damaged,
how
like,
often
I
does
mean,
it
it might
happen?
not even be necessary, I'm just bringing it up because it's just a wonder.
Items fall into loss pretty regularly, but they are almost always, it's almost always just a matter of someone actually tracking it down. So it's pretty rare that it goes through the entire process and actually ends up being
So the ones that show up 30 years later after.
Some of that is why we have the day limit, is because, if you find it 6 months later, it's hard for us to verify that you paid.
Right.
Because that record doesn't stay on your account or anything.
That makes sense.
So you would have to have your receipt handy, essentially, which, who's hanging on to that for 6 months?
Thank you. I know that I've received books from interlibrary loans that were actually damaged when they came in. And I saw it right then and there when the librarian was checking it out to me, and so we were able to flag it. Um, I don't know if this needs to be a part of the policy, but just as patrons, for people to know if they find damage, how that should be brought to the library's attention. Should it be like when they bring it back and return it? Because then it's hard to know when it happened, but that's a valid thing when we're talking about damaged materials here. So I don't know if that needs to be written somewhere in the
Actually,
policy.
a great point. I do think it might be helpful to just state in there that damage should be reported as early as possible when it's noticed. Because, sometimes you might get something that was hurt or came in the mail, and we didn't catch, maybe you do, so that way you're not getting charged for it. We do tend to try to do some research when something like that happens, so that the bill is going to the right person. So we will look at those things too. If a patron says, hey, I got this way, we will dig in. I don't think language to that effect would hurt. I think that might actually be a pretty relevant bullet to have in there.
It could be under, even in the damaged items, like if noticed at the beginning of, the checkout that an item is damaged, just to let the librarian know. I mean, it's tricky because we know this policy, but as a patron, it's kind of like, how would we get that information to patrons? Because that's where it's most important.
Wouldn't the person that's checking the book out notice that prior to? The patron's not gonna know anything about this policy until after the fact.
That's true.
not always, especially if something is mid-book. Like, I think of how many books in the elementary libraries are drawn or scribbled in, and when it doesn't ruin the rest of the story, we don't often replace it, we leave it there. So we try to make a note, knowing that I got it this way, it wasn't this student who did it. So I agree that some sort of like damage should be reported as soon as noted, even upon receiving materials or something like that. I just was trying to look through and be like, where would that make the most sense to put? Was that first set of bullets?
I think
Potentially?
so, to be honest with you.
So if before the cost billed bullet, if we did, you ready, Austin? All right. Damage should be reported as soon as it is noticed, even upon receival of materials.
That would be as soon as you get it, when you receive it.
Right.
Who said that we break it down?
Right.
Oh.
So that way, if they just get it home, and like, oh shoot, this is damaged, I wonder what the policy is. I mean, the chances they're going to go to our policy and procedure. But if they do, let's report this right away, and they could have the conversation that this is was damaged when they got it. Did we like that language? But,
Damage should be reported as soon as it is noticed, even upon retrieval of materials.
the only thing to discuss was title.
I think there's patronage right in front, patronage, lost or damaged materials. And someone knows that with that whole policy, I can go again.
I have a suggestion for that as well.
Yeah.
Just inverting the words, and changing it to materials lost or damaged by a patron may suffice.
I had looked to like lost or damaged circulating
That's
materials
fine.
or patron materials.
Yeah.
And then I all of a sudden I had
It
like a
makes
whole
it clear
sentence that
what
was too big,
they're
but
chopping into.
I think that way was super clear for people.
Yeah, I do too.
do you wanna restate?
Materials lost or damaged by a patron. That's the title of the policy.
I think that, I like that, clear. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, is there a motion for approval of the, edits to the materials and lost and damaged materials policy?
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the table by Titcomb, a second by Commissioner Frederick. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor of the presented changes to the update of the policy, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item of new business is the budget proposal review.
I'm sorry it is so tiny, but we're trying to fit it all on one page.
When we had gotten together, Keelan and I, we had talked, we got together twice, one for expenditures and one for revenues. But we did not fill out the salaries because that was based off of the city of Dickinson scale, correct?
That's correct.
And so that scale is equated into there, that's 706,000.
That's correct.
Okay. I guess I had a question on the revenue side with the state aid distribution. So cities were given 14.9% more from the 24 actuals. Do we give that same increase as a library? Does that pass through straight to us at 14.9% increase? Or is there a different percentage that's allocated to libraries from the city of Dickinson? Do you create your own percentage that you receive? That was the only thing that I think him and I even had questions on, was that state aid.
Yeah, I was curious as well, because
Right, because that 70,000 doesn't reflect the 14.9% that's projected from the 24 actuals. So I'm just wondering, we got $74,362 in 24 for the actual. I gotta get a paper here, lose my lines. I do that often, make sure I got my right line here. So then it would be a 14.9% increase, which would, the budget written was 70, so it's less than 74, the actual. So I'm just wondering, because the city is supposed to receive that's the projected, is it a pass-through? Do we get to see that increase, or is there a certain, do you keep that, or how does that go?
I honestly cannot tell you that. I know that it is a pass-through from the state that we receive those, and they've already got it split out. So I would have to look into the background of how how they cut that. Because I know the state aid includes library, city, and park and rec.
Right, so does the library get that 14.9 bump
That
as
I
well?
don't know, I'd have to look into that. We get the split right from them.
Okay. Then that, I think, that would be the only number that's off. On the revenue side, I think. And we are, I see in 24, 25, we didn't get any 0.5% sales tax. Is that something that we're normally going to get, or is that just to balance to go to a zero budget, or the zero balance at the end?
That's correct. It is,
Okay.
it's not something that we budget for. We put that in there when we have the, looking into the expansion and stuff, and that comes from the 0.5% sales tax.
The 0.5% sales tax is for building? Is that what that is allocated for that?
It was to balance the budget.
Okay.
It is not, put into the library budget until the end of the year to see where we're at. If the revenues come in higher than what was budgeted, then it would not be used.
Okay. And so, what about the interest revenue? Because
Same thing.
there, okay,
It just depends on which revenue source we would be using at that time.
so the library is what we're spending versus what we're incurring. We're overspending every year because the city has to transfer money in. It's like in 21 and 22, 23, not 24, 25. Oh yeah, 25 the interest is in, brought in. So we're overspending as a library, correct?
That was during the expansion. I mean, those architectural designs and stuff, that's why it's 0.5% for interest.
I think that transfer was to cover the rest of it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're correct. That for the 25, yes,
And
because
so that was funds from the previous year that we had to pay towards the bookmobile. And so that is what that is.
Okay, so that's not expansion.
No,
No.
that's not expansion.
I'm wrong on that. Can I ask a quick question if I'm looking at this correctly, which I could not be, but the programming line about 3/4 of the way down in 2021, 2022, 2023, there's nothing in those spots.
It did not exist.
So there was no money for programming in those
Well,
years.
money was spent for programming, but it was pulled out of op. So part of what I did so that we could get a better measure of how much we were spending there and what we were doing for clarity was create a programming budget line.
And you said it was pulled from where?
So often it was, those expenses were pulled out of operating supplies, and then largely programming has been paid out of anything above the donations we receive, because typically our annual programming is paid for by the Friends of the Library. So anything in excess of the $10,000 donation that wasn't covered by further grants would then have been pulled from operating supplies to cover programming. This was just an effort to make it a little bit, to add a little bit of clarity so that the board can actually see what is being spent there.
Sure. So the Friends of the Library are still getting that 10,000. It's just funneling it to the majority, and then you have line items.
And so their donations go into the donation line.
Thank you.
Yep.
operating supplies line, it almost doubled from 2022. Is there like a historic reason why that would have happened there?
So that was the year I was not here,
Okay.
was 2023. So I don't know, maybe for a planned expense that they had, I'm unsure. What they had for, why she made the changes, or the recommended changes for, she recommended those changes for. Unfortunately, that was not.
Pardon me, I'd like some more clarification about that 0.5% sales tax that's coming in 26. At $250,000, that's what's going to be used to pay for the building expansion, correct?
That is to offset the budget at this time.
It's to offset the budget only.
Yeah.
That's not
Because you're looking at just
for
the
the
library
expansion. I
budget.
thought you said it was for expansion.
She just identified bookmobile funds as expansion funds, from that section.
This
Okay.
is just to offset the budget for the library at this time.
And you can do that with sales tax? You can move money around like that?
The 30% of the 1% sales tax is for any community buildings and for capital purchases and or operations.
Operation, okay. Can we talk a little bit about what's needed for the expansion? Or is that not part of this budget? It's not part of this budget, because we
Correct.
don't have it.
No,
There's no money here for that.
no, that's under
Okay.
capital projects.